Hello world and welcome to this episode of the RONJIRU Japan podcast, the place where we provide insights on Japan from people who know Japan. Japanese fashion designers are among some of the best out there. Most of us know at least one or two Japanese fashion brands that have made their mark around the world. Our guest today is a fashion designer who used to work for one of these companies, but now she has her own set of styles, not one, but two fashion accessory brands that are loved by customers in exclusive fashion centers around the world. Japanese fashion designer Kaori Sumi has agreed to join us on RONJIRU Japan today to talk about her brands and her activities. Now, I've never been accused of being fashionable, but I do have one shirt that's funky and expensive that I've chosen to wear for today's discussion. I'll try to bring it up during the course of our talk to see what a world-famous fashion designer thinks of my funky shirt. So be sure to listen to the end of the episode. Our guest today is fashion accessory designer Kaori Sumi. I'm your host JT, and this is RONJIRU. Let's discuss Japan. Kaori Sumi, thank you for joining us on the RONJIRU Japan podcast.
Thank you.
It's very nice to speak with you. Your name comes up in the fashion press a lot, so I was interested in speaking with you today. You're quite remarkable because not only are you a fashion designer, but you're also a very sportive person. You love the outdoors. You're a cyclist. You do trail running. You're also a triathlete. You've participated in the Ironman competition.
Yes.
And you love international travel. With such a varied amount of hobbies and interests, when did you first know that you wanted to be a fashion designer, and why was that?
I think I have a lot of influence by how I brought up. At my childhood, I was in Sydney, really outdoor.
Yes.
Every week to the beach and so on. And after I come back to Japan, I went to a high school of fine arts. There I studied designing and to also college, a women's college of fine arts, it's called.
Oh, yes.
And there I studied textile design.
Right.
And I wanted to be a designer, but actually I wasn't thinking about fashion. It could be product designer or textile designer or something.
Right.
And after graduated, I've got a job of as an accessory designer in an apparel company.
Right.
That's a really fashion company. So, well, I liked fashion very much. So it was a really good opportunity. And there I learned designing all sorts of items except clothing, because I was in the accessory design section. And it was early 80s when everybody liked something very new, something that you haven't seen. And also new fashion, and which is very different from now.
Right.
I think now people don't like really new stuff.
Right.
I think so. That's how I started in a fashion design. Yes. Yeah. But after I did designing work there, I went to big trouble with my husband, 1.5 years.
That's a long trip.
After a year and a half, I came back, and I have to call all my name cards that I got while I was working as a designer, and ask for any kind of a small job. What can I get? And that I started to be a freelance designer, and I did all small contracts. And after 6 months, I think I had several contracts to live by myself. Actually, I had a husband who started to be a student.
Oh.
That means I have to work. I thought it was a really great chance to change my mind and do something else if I after come back to Japan.
Right.
But I had to do fashion or designing job because my husband's going to be student.
Right.
So that's the quickest way to earn money.
I see.
Yeah, that's right. So that's how it came. And after several months, several years, my husband got independent. Actually, he wanted to be an acupuncture. So he had a school for 3 years and to get a license. So after 4 years, he got he started his own job as an acupuncturist. So then I thought I might do my own business, establish a company and do my own design products. So that's how Kaos began.
Right, which was my next question. How did Kaos begin? And and maybe give a bit of a description about what kind of a brand it is.
Yes, it was actually I wasn't thinking about what kind of products I want to make. Anything for me, it's really new compared to designing for other companies. So, but I have to sell by myself, and I thought I would start with handbags. I could do shoes or hats, but I start with handbags because I had a very good friendship with craftsmen of handbags in Tokyo. So they could support me if I start really small quantities and stuff. And one day I was looking for a material to make my design. I wanted something very special. Before I know about the market of materials or fabrics that can be used for handbags or like even leather, but I wanted something very special for myself, and I found this old men's kimono in a vintage store, and it wasn't really like a very flowery, typical Japanese print or something. It was really dark, chic men's kimono, looked like a little check pattern or something, but it looked very special to me because it was really different from what I was using for the products before. And I bought this kimono, and I have to undo and put together with a very light pink velvet and made a handbag sample. And it was really different for me using this old fabric, old textile. And velvet is a new fabric. And putting together and make a handbag, it was really something different. So I thought, I will do this, It's something original for myself.
Right.
And that's how I started with the old kimonos. And yes, after I start looking for any other kinds of textiles in the old kimonos, like kind of a hobby.
Right.
Became, yes. So that was accident, actually.
So it was the fact that it was different that got you started on it?
Yes, it's a different, it has a different atmosphere, I thought, compared to new production made things. It was a production in the past, but after people have worn and through the big times and maybe have stories in the kimono, and so it looked very different. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that's how Kaos started, was with one
Yes.
single
Yes.
men's kimono,
Definitely.
and then you
Yes.
moved on from there.
That I didn't imagine it will be like this. And in another hand, while I was a freelancer, I used to work for a import handbag company, and he was producing handbags in Italy. So I went to Italy every season with my design, producing in Italy. So I knew some trade shows in Europe, in Italy or Paris. And I thought I would do my first collection in Paris.
Right.
And there was a very nice, not expensive show for new creators at the fashion season. So one day I went, after this work in Italy, I went to this collection in Paris and talked with the organizer with my prototype. Then I had maybe 2 or 3 samples. And this organizer, she was a really special woman. And she said, okay, why not come next season? I'll give you a booth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I started my collection in Paris. Every season.
When was that?
That was 1997.
Mm-hmm.
Because I launched my company 1996. Yes.
And you've continued to do old kimono fabric and mix it with something modern, something new, maybe something Western.
Yes.
And what did people think of it overseas when they saw it? Was it just something new and interesting, or was it something that they thought was beautiful and a fashion item? What was the response?
I think beautiful and unique. Something they have never seen. And yes, of course, at that time I used to use mini prints also. And I was collecting very unique prints. Like one time I was collecting only rose
right?
Rose motif, flower, rose motif kimono only. So I make a prototype handbag design, and buyers can choose their colors or a certain vintage fabric, which one to order. And I produce and ship them half a year after.
I see.
Like that. Yes. So I was collecting many every season. Not too many, but for my collection.
So what was it about the fact that it was vintage? Is that something that was important to you, or was it just by chance that you thought, this is an interesting pattern, and off you went?
Right. That's right. I'm not really caring about how old it is. But finally, I was looking through many old kimonos. The new ones didn't interest me.
Why?
The textile design. Because I think maybe after World War II or around then, people start using only Western clothes, and only less people wear kimono, only at the special occasion. That means they need only classic, traditional. I don't know if I say traditional, but classic style kimonos only. So there's not much fashion kind and or crazy or girls new style kimono. That kind of fashion in kimono was before World War, I think. And all the kimono factory was producing new designs influenced by European fine arts sometimes, paintings, or even fashion. So I can see all this fusion in the kimonos, which is a very fun part.
Right.
So the new ones, I'm not interested.
How old is vintage? What is vintage?
I think I don't know actually, but we in fashion people use vintage words as vintage for like jeans or jewelries a lot.
Yes,
so it
yes.
doesn't say it have to be how old, but I don't know. It's not like a used kimono, maybe vintage. More than 50 years, what I'm using is mostly. But really, I don't care. If I find a very unique one in a new one, maybe I'll use it. But I don't find them.
Yeah. And it must be difficult to find vintage fabric nowadays.
Yes.
And as time goes on.
Right. And the quantity is less and the price is like a double. So I was playing with it, but I cannot do it anymore. Only small pieces I can make.
Yes.
That's very, very pity, but...
Yes. You once said, I saw in an article that you were featured in, where you said using old fabric is like a time machine.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That was kind of an interesting thing to say. What does that past look like?
So I can see the trends, fashion trends of kimono, and even, many type of people, even like women. Maybe this person was working in a kind of a bar or show, or that kind of person, or really serious working woman, or these kind of stories I can see from old kimono. That was a fun part.
And so you take these very nice old pieces of artistically fashioned vintage fabric. You combine them with modern, for example, velvet or leather. I know you appear to like cowboy boots a lot,
yes.
which is very cool. Yes. And you put those patterns on that, etc. And it just leads me to want to ask you the question, why you chose the name
Kaos.
Kaos, which is the English word for chaos.
Well, that's
Yes.
comes from my name. Kaori Sumi. Kaos.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
But
okay. So nothing philosophical there.
Well, I thought, about chaos. Not bad, I thought. But my father said that doesn't that word has a really, kind of bad meaning.
Well, not necessarily. Sometimes
he was worried.
Disruption is an important aspect of progress.
Yeah. Right. Because after, maybe after 5 or 10 years, I saw like perfume named Kaos, and
sure enough,
kind of the word chaos was like a boom one time. So
you also said once in an article that when you first started with Kaos, with chaos products outside Japan, that the Japanese fashion establishment was not very enthusiastic.
Right.
Why?
Because that was 1997 when I started, and around that time there was no words like remake. We use this word now in fashion or clothing, like using old kimono, not kimono only, but fabric, maybe old Western clothing to remake something. But we didn't have this word at that time. And also, I think Japanese, a lot of, not the really young ones, but they had a respect for traditional Japanese kimonos. So they cannot cut. I was cutting. And cutting in pieces, making something. And that was really rude for them, I think. So in there, I don't know if they had thought it was rude, but they didn't like the idea.
Oh.
Don't bring it to the fashion, kind of. Kimono is like a different thing. So yeah, that's how. So it was really strange that even a journalist, Japanese journalist, if they're aged, I don't say everybody, because I knew some who really was liked Kaos very much, but even yes, some journalists.
I see.
Didn't come to my booth
Because you cut the kimono.
They can't look at it.
Hey, so yeah.
yes. You know, English Vivienne Westwood. She did a lot of creation with a British check.
Yes.
That is also their traditional pattern.
Like a tweed or something.
Yes. She did a lot of, I don't know, maybe tweed, but more like a English tartan check into crazy clothes.
Crazy
which
clothes.
which was kind of a punk idea. So people might thought I was really punk doing this. But after, maybe nearly 10 years after, a lot of people start cutting kimono and making little purses or handmade something.
Right.
That was kind of another Japanese movement in Japan. So I thought that was we call waboom.
Waboom, yes.
Waboom came. But I was really completely different idea. So I'm not doing that. But people start maybe not hating me at that time.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. That's good to know. So when you take a piece of old fabric, for example, do you look at the size of the fabric and decide what to make? Or do you say, here's what I'm going to make, and therefore here's how I will cut the fabric? Is it chicken or egg?
I see the fabric first.
I see.
Because if I talk about Kaos, I was collecting kimono first. Have a kind of idea, but a certain type of range of kimonos in a same image for a collection for next season or something.
Right.
So, but kimono fabric is mostly width is very small, 36 centimeter. So I cannot make a huge, otherwise I have to sew it.
I see.
So not very big pieces I could make, but yes, maybe fabric first. Yes, it could be opposite.
I see. What made
what
made you decide to do cowboy hats and cowboy boots?
Oh, I have to do something. You know, I respect kimonos also, but when I'm cutting, I think I have to make something very different. Otherwise, you will be killed. You know, just cutting, kind of. You have to make beautiful things, or you have to make very different something. Then it means a creation. So then one day I thought, oh, cowboy hats and Western boots, because I found this obi, very old. The obi group I bought was like, more than 100 years. The silk was very different, and colors and patterns were big, and it was one period of marriage obi group I collected. Then I made Western boots and a cowboy hat with that obi fabric like that. Not
the Western style is sort of a historical or a tradition of the West. And by putting old kimono fabric on that, you're blending old with old. It's kind of interesting.
It is. Right.
Is there anybody in Texas wearing one of your hats?
I hope there was, but
that's cool. That's cool. So you had to be careful, because otherwise you'll just get called Scissor Lady.
Yeah, right.
And what about now? Now that kimono fabric is vintage kimono fabric is difficult to find, the price is higher, etc. What is Kaos focused on in terms of products now?
Now, I still have resin accessories. I did a lot of acrylic resin accessories, and I still have these now. Between acrylic resin, I put old fabric.
Right.
It makes a really new material, different material, and the kimono fabric looks very wet between the transparent acrylic board.
All right.
And it's completely different. It doesn't look like fabric, but from this acrylic resin board, cut them, and there are special people, they do it for me, and they make accessories.
I see.
I make mostly bangles, but even others too.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm using bring these accessories to Kanazawa Prefecture.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a Kanazawa gold leaf craftsman. I'm asking them to put some gold leaves on accessories. So we're working together, yes.
Oh. So Kaos goes gold.
Yes. Before I didn't.
Very good.
Recently. And also I make small pieces because I cannot find big quantities. So like purses and like document cases, and yes, small items too. Yeah.
So that's Kaos, a brand that brings a touch of Japan to the world. But that's not the only brand that you formulated. You've also established LaLa Senorita.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that? And I think the parasol behind you is LaLa Senorita. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
So that was after Kaos had been established and you were moving forward with the business, you decided to formulate another brand and start it.
Because during I was showing in Paris, I got Japanese clients also. And after all, I had quite many Japanese clients, and I found out Kaos was concentrating on vintage kimono fabric, but I had more clients in Japan that looking for other accessories, which I really was interested to make. But I thought they aren't, more season. Like, I think Japanese people like season. So more seasonable fashion accessories. And I thought it was not for export, only maybe market in Japan, domestic market.
Right.
Targeted. So I think Kaos and LaLa Senorita both are my taste, comes from my taste. But I'm using something that I cannot use in Kaos a lot in LaLa Senorita.
Such as?
Such as like African fabric like this.
Right.
Or, yes, I do African raffia, which is palm, comes from palm leaves. The natural fabric? No. Material. Yarns. Or what? I don't know. Anything. Now I'm making a lot of parasols. But before, for LaLa Senorita, I made a lot of accessories too.
Right.
Then I did acrylic resins, of course, and anything, metals or stones or...
Right.
And even leathers. And leather is, I thought, not really for exporting because I knew Europe and they had good leather.
Right.
So I wasn't really interested to doing leather stuff. So for.
So there was Kaos, which was, if you will, a kind of a Japanesque kind of image that was popular overseas. But then you get LaLa Senorita, and when I look at it, I kind of feel like an ocean breeze, something sort of in a warm country with a lot of sun. That's the image I get from it. And it's a very different image. What made you decide to establish a new brand that was so different from the first one?
I think it's very correct. And I think I have both because I was brought up obviously and with beaches and outdoors, mountains, and I wasn't in a really hot country, but I like warm image. So I think it just comes from myself, and both are. And Kaos is not really a very good girl, also. So
why not? Why not? Because you're a scissor lady.
Yes. I think I'm not really seriously. I'm not describing traditional Japanese or no, not that kind. So I'm trying to make
chopping it into pieces.
Yes, I'm trying to make something different.
I see.
Yes, so I think the both is myself actually, and something I wanted to do. Yes, even I like making cows, but
I see. Well, with LaLa Senorita, and you have your online store, which is now live, and I'll put links to that in the show notes for this episode. That's all fine. Yes, it's
really?
Nice. Yeah,
Thank you.
You appear to work with Japanese craftsmen on a lot of some of the products, anyways, parasols as well as fans and things like that. And it's for me, it's very maybe it's not interesting for you, but for me, it's interesting that you will take something like African fabric or Indonesian fabric or the very sort of Western
and Sweden,
yeah, and those non-Japanese motifs and work them into a product working with Japanese craftsmen. Could you tell us about that? That's a very interesting thing for me.
Oh yes,
it's weird and I love it.
Yes, you're true. I don't know. This make products in Japan is quite hard now. Hard to find in a reasonable price also, and less factories, and it's quite hard. But work with the Japanese craftsmen making details. I can see them and not like ordering China and waiting for samples to come up, and it's like this. But I cannot do it in China, the same kind of thing. But
why is that?
I don't know, people who's carving or what they can do this. There is a handbag sewing factory, or even a parasol or shoes or something. But for details, I think I have to find people here and talk and produce here where I can see.
Right.
So, yeah. And actually,
what they're doing.
Yes, I'm doing the details in Japan. Even fabric come from outside.
Sure.
That's funny. But yes, so recently I'm buying from, every year I'm buying from African fabric prints, and recently I'm buying Sweden prints also. But they all, now I make bags and parasols. And for parasols, I have to water resist.
Yes. In
a Japanese factory, I put the fabric into the factory and to make a water resist and the UV, and then go to make in a factory such as umbrella factory or craftsmen in a handbag factory or whatever. But first, yes, for parasols, I do the water resist in Japan.
Is that you've used the word details about 4 or 5 times already as we talked about it. Yeah. And so that's good. That I guess leads me to the question. Why the focus on detail?
Why?
Yes. I mean, anybody who produces things, who produces fabrics or parasols or things like that, presumably focuses on details. And yet it's here in Japan that the details are very important, and that's something that you use in your works. And I found that fascinating and think it's something that we can explore.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you think?
Yes, because most of the... I was talking about some parts of the product as a detail. Even embroideries or
I see.
Curving stuffs or acrylic resin handles and stuffs. Mostly in the same items in the market is more machine made and mass production, just putting it together, which doesn't look very charming mostly. So I have no places. If they have many big quantity of like a wholesaler or parts or something and really nice things, maybe I will buy them, but I can't find them, so I have to make by myself. Yes.
How rare in the fashion industry, how rare is made in Japan?
I'm not really, I don't have a number, but I think very less every year by year, getting less. And in fashion, I don't know, but I think less than 30%. If I include clothing, yeah.
So,
I think so.
The design is done in Japan and then the actual production is outsourced? Is that how it works?
Yes. That's
and it's a matter of cost, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. And yes, cost, yes.
But not you. You make it here.
Yes, so it costs.
Right. Yes. Yes. Which is actually kind of another thing I wanted to ask you about. Your products, Kaos as well, but also especially LaLa Senorita, is in Japanese, a Japanese word, itenmono. So it's original. There's only one of each piece, or not everything, but a lot of them.
No, I think I use this one of a kind word for Kaos products because comes in different textiles.
Oh, right.
And even the places where I cut, it looks different, even it would come from the same print.
Right.
So that kind of one of a kind, and I can't make like art pieces, only one. That should be handmade, and I'm not making art piece. So mostly, yes, different fabric or different looking.
Sure.
Even, yeah, that makes you only one. Even the face of the purse or something, it's only one that looking.
But brings up the price a little bit because it's not mass produced.
Yes. Have to be worked one by one. Yes.
And so who would be the target group for, let's say, LaLa Senorita, a parasol or something like that?
Now, I don't know. Now I'm making more parasols and bags. And before it was like more different items. So now it's expanding the target of people who buying. it's a little expensive
Sure.
compared to market price of the items, I think. But actually not ages that who likes my taste. Yeah. They have to know. Yes, that's not very classical, not very serious.
I see.
Very fun.
Fun.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Yes. Fun. A kimono with a cowboy, or a cowboy hat with a kimono pattern is a lot of fun. And that's Kaos,
Yeah.
I know, but
Yeah.
that's very cool. I want to talk to you about your creative process, because you're trying to create, not everything is one-of-a-kind items, but you're trying to do something that's unique and different, which is something you've already said a couple of times. What is the way that you go about thinking about things? Do you stumble upon an idea and then make it, or do you play with fabric and then get an idea? How does it work for you?
Many different ways, I think. Maybe idea comes suddenly anywhere, any kind. Maybe from fabric, or maybe from, I don't know, just walking. Or I can't say. But maybe if for LaLa Senorita, maybe I image about the outdoor image, or travel to somewhere, and yes, then I start drawing and do from what material should I make this, and to make what item, like that.
So you start out by drawing?
Sometimes, yes.
Do you ever get stuck for an idea?
Sometimes maybe, yes, but I'm not always drawing or designing, so I have many things to do for the production, or even for sales or whatever. So I have so many things to do if I'm stuck. And come back again. Yes.
And come back again to it. Yes, yes. When you have an idea, from the idea for what to make to actual production, approximately how long does it take?
From idea may be long, but from make the sample, if after samples made, to the production maybe 3 months.
I see.
But for the sample, depends, but 1.5 months or something. So almost 5 months. Or
so you're always about a half a year ahead of the weather.
yes,
Because everything in fashion is very seasonal.
right.
And you're always thinking about the next season 6 months later.
Right. Because I started next summer collection design now.
Yes.
So
Right. Next summer collection.
yeah, but actually the products come up in February. So that's
I see.
about 6 months or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
Yes. But
sun is not on my mind in February. But anyways.
right.
You, because you're an athlete, and we'll talk about that in a moment as well, is there anything you get from the various outdoor activities and athletics that you do that helps you with designing or ideas for either Kaos or LaLa Senorita?
Yes, not directly, but what most I like is meeting a lot of different people through races or training, and even I go like Ironman overseas.
Yes.
And then I get new friends from all over the world, and speaking with them or racing with them, it put me to unusual, and refreshes me, and I get a new mind that not only in small places thinking only about fashion. It's not very good for new ideas. So it helps. And I love to have different kind of people. Not only same kind of people around me. So that was very good point that I started sports racings. And I like sports fashion too, very much.
Sports fashion.
Yeah. I don't produce, but...
Right. You're a triathlete.
Yes.
Wow. And you were, I think, Taiwan, was that your most recent ITU triathlon?
No, Taiwan was quite a long time ago.
That would have been...
I did Korea.
Oh, yes, I see.
Korea. And after the next year, Korea was cancelled by typhoon. So the long one is... last one was Korea, Ironman. Yes, I did Taiwan. And ITU in Sweden.
In Sweden?
Too.
How'd you do?
I did. It was tough.
It was tough. Well, obviously it's tough. It's a triathlon.
But the Sweden ITU, it was a championship in Sweden. And the water, it was a really beautiful lake. I have to swim.
Yes.
The race was swim was 4 kilometers first, but as the water temperature was 14, that people will die if you swim for 4 kilometers. So they cut to 1.5 kilometers.
Right.
And it was really chilly. You can't stay. Just 30 minutes swim.
I see.
So that kind of tough.
Right. And that toughness, I guess, is also applicable to your fashion business. Maybe it helped you prepare for the coronavirus, which has affected the fashion industry.
Yes.
Like an amazing degree. I don't know exactly how many, but there are many very famous fashion brands throughout the world that are actually going bankrupt even because of coronavirus. Yes. How has it affected you and your business?
Yeah,
and your sports?
In a small fashion market in Japan, also, shops closed, department closed for a month, 2 months, and small stores, they could open, but I think customers don't come back.
Right.
Even now. So I think it's all over the world, the same thing happening. And I don't know what's going on after 1 or 2 years after now. Yes. So now at least what I can do is I'm trying to sell directly to consumers.
Right.
So that's why I launched the online store. Yeah, because before I was only wholesaling to the stores. So that's the
and also select shops.
Yes. And that's the very different part that I'm going to work with. Maybe I cannot wait for a wholesale buyer. So
and I assume that there's not a lot of exhibitions going on either.
Right.
In, for example, Paris, for example.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Exhibitions, no exhibitions. Even end of this year, I don't know how many will be cancelled. And yes, big Paris collection and Milano, New York, they'll be cancelled too. So,
right.
Crazy.
So those exhibitions are cancelled, and what about your sporting events? Are they cancelled too?
Yes, all cancelled.
Oh God!
So that's why I'm, cycling at home, just training.
Right.
But
you have the screen on your bike?
Yes. Actually, this laptop and a computer on the bike and connect.
I see.
So I can race on virtual races.
Are you actually competing with other people?
I can do that, yes.
Oh,
there
cool.
are races, small races. Yes. Yeah.
So, just looking back on what we've talked about so far today, there's Kaos, which was inspired by your name, but also by your interest in the old patterns of Japanese kimono. Bringing a piece of that sort of Japanese style and, what shall we say, the quality of the fabric to a global audience. Then there was LaLa Senorita, which takes fabrics and things from around the world, combines them with the work of Japanese craftsmen, craftspeople to make the handles and things.
Yeah.
I love those little sparrows, by the way. That's beautiful. The little sparrow handles on the parasol. That's so cute.
Thank you.
Oh, it's great. It's great. Yeah, I think those are great. Anyways, so you take all of that and bring a touch of the world here to Japan. But there's a common element in both the Kaos brand and the LaLa Senorita brand. And I think that common element has something to do with possibly with your philosophy of fashion. You appear to be irreverent. You appear to like to challenge the norms and challenge the rules, which is very cool. But at the core, both brands are very focused on Japanese craftsmanship, Japanese design, and attention to detail. Is that your philosophy?
Yes, I guess so. I think it's my DNA about Japanese.
Yes.
That I'm not really caring about the tradition, but I like them finally. So they pull me into the world of old kimono textiles or Japanese works. Handworks or yes. So I'm not trying to show the tradition. I'm not explaining any tradition, but I like them, I think. Maybe that's my DNA. I didn't mean to do it.
so you accidentally discovered the craftsman spirit.
Yes. I think, and because in another hand, why I started cutting, maybe because I was brought up abroad,
Right. Not
Japanese grown up, so that's why I could look at the material really flat. Oh, very beautiful. I like to use it for my material, like that. But that's different from Japanese. So I had a little bit different eyes to look at it. That's why I was scissors cutting.
Cut that. Hey, that's beautiful. Let's chop it up. No, that's very good. I think each piece that you create does speak a little bit to that tradition, whether you're using the traditional fabric or whether you're dealing with a craftsperson who makes something for LaLa Senorita. I think your respect for the Japanese tradition, even though it was accidental, is still quite clear in what you do and in the things that you make. You're keeping the tradition alive every time you create something. I think I read somewhere that acrylic artists and craftspersons are becoming more and more rare in Japan. Is that true?
Yes, because they don't have work.
Why?
They don't have work. I mean, I think people don't order. They make it all in China, I think, acrylic.
Oh.
That's why a lot of people have lost their job, and so very rare now, I think. And
But you have them work for you.
Yeah.
So that's, you're keeping it alive.
I know, but I think some maybe younger people have to learn and do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're old people.
The craftspeople.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. What is challenging about the fashion industry nowadays here in Japan?
Challenging.
Mm-hmm. Most difficult aspect.
Yes. I think to produce is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
To make in Japan is quite difficult.
Because of cost.
Cost.
Mm-hmm.
And less factories. And yes. And when it costs, selling is difficult. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you normally I know you're very busy with exhibitions, which is why it was, and I thank you for your time in being on this, my podcast, because I know you're right between another exhibition. You had one a couple days ago, you had one last week, you had one the week before, a couple weeks before that. You're obviously doing a lot of exhibitions here in Japan. How often do you do them?
No, I just started doing this recently because I want to open for the consumers.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't do it before, like this kind of events, personal events.
I see.
Yeah. Last month I had a event at department store in Osaka.
Mm-hmm.
That's different. But recently I did a little event. It was for consumers in a little galleries and like pop-up event. Yes. And I started doing this, and I don't know, I won't do every month, but I hope to do quite often to let people know about LaLa Senorita. And maybe in winter I do Kaos.
What inspires you about fashion that makes you keep going despite the fact that it's difficult, despite the fact that it's becoming more expensive? What keeps you going with fashion?
Yes, it's true. It's getting difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So I like fashion, and I think I like products very much. So that's why I think I want to do it, but it's getting difficult. So, but with this coronavirus problem, I don't know what happens.
Yes. Everything is up in the air.
Yeah, for every market.
I guess so.
Yeah.
What's your next really cool idea? You're doing parasols, you're doing handbags, you're doing the accessories and bangles. Are we going to see, like internal room designs or clothing lineup? What's next for Kaori Sumi?
For next year, I don't know. Yes. But yes, maybe I'll think about something more indoor.
I see.
Indoor fashion. Not interior fashion, but yes.
For looking forward to today's interview, I wore my shirt that's got different designs.
I was thinking.
Isn't that
very nice?
Isn't that neat?
Very nice.
Every surface has a different pattern. Even the collar has checks and everything. Yes. I thought you might find this interesting.
Yes, it is. I was thinking.
Yes.
Where did you get it?
I bought it in London.
Oh.
So there we go. I'm all fashionable today. Oscar de la Renta, the fashion designer, said that a fashion is a trend, but style lives within a person. Having been able to speak with you today. I think I can say, having looked within you a little bit, I like your style. Kaori-san, I thank you very much for your time today and joining us on the RONJIRU Japan podcast.
Thank you. I've enjoyed very much.
Thanks for joining us on the RONJIRU Japan podcast. For more insights on Japan from people who know Japan, be sure to subscribe to the podcast right now and check out our website at www.ronjirujapan.com. That's www.ronjirujapan.com. Links to all our content are on the website and in the description for this episode, including links to Facebook and Twitter and our YouTube channel, which also has a variety of videos in addition to regular episodes. Please subscribe, follow, and share. I look forward to talking to you again in the next episode. From RONJIRU Japan in Tokyo, I've been your host JT. Until next time, o genki de ne.